Tyme Glitch, Book 4 by Steve Kitts. The first light of dawn had painted the horizon in hues of orange and pink as Alex awoke from the familiar sounds of the farm life. He swung his legs out of bed, feeling the warm wooden floor beneath his feet, the comforting reminder of generations that had walked the same boards before him. Before heading downstairs, he took a moment to look down at his loving wife and their unborn child. There, bathed in the gentle morning light that filtered through the curtains, was his pregnant wife, Stacy. She slept peacefully, and her hand resting protectively on her growing belly. Alex couldn't help but pause and take in the loving look at her. The sight of Stacy carrying their child filled him with a profound sense of gratitude and awe. She was his partner in this journey, his rock, and she was the source of boundless love for him. He leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead, careful not to wake her. He grabbed his faded overalls and wore a plaid shirt from the hook on the door, the very same one that Gramps used to wear. Alex could almost hear Gramps telling him to get up and get it. The morning is here, son. The old farmhouse was alive with memories and whispers from the past, and the walls adorned with faded photographs of family gatherings and harvest feasts. Alex's grandfather, Charlie, had taken pride in every corner of this house, and now it was Alex's turn to take care of it. With a yawn and a stretch, Alex made his way to the kitchen, where the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air. He poured himself a steaming cup and sipped it slowly, savoring the earthly richness. As a ritual, the moment of quiet reflection before the day's hustle and bustle. Outside, the roosters crowed to greet him, and Alex smiled. He knew that they were announcing the arrival of a new day and the beginning of another market day for him. In the cozy kitchen, he went on preparing a hearty breakfast, a stack of pancakes, and a dollop of fresh butter, and a sweet drizzle of maple syrup. The taste and smell of home filled the deep sense of belonging. After breakfast, he headed to the barn where the old Ford pickup was just resting, patiently waiting for the load of produce that he was going to give it. Alex checked the tires and gave the engine a reassuring look over. It may not be sleek or modern like most of the other vehicles, but it was a reliable workhorse. He did have some help out of a pair of farm dogs, Buddy and Daisy, and sure, they didn't like mornings, and after greeting Alex, they wandered back to the dark part of the barn to rest a little bit more. The crates were freshly harvested fruits and vegetables that were waiting at the corner of the barn. Alex loaded them onto the bed of the pickup truck carefully and arranging them like Gramps had taught him. The crates were filled with ripe tomatoes and plump peaches and some of the crispest green beans, some melons, and it was a testament of the hard work that was done on the farm. Finally, the sun was up, casting a warm glow over the farm. Alex climbed into the truck and revved the engine and began a short journey to the local market. As he drove past the fields and the orchard, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the tradition and the responsibility of carrying on the family legacy. He gave a quick nod to the special tree and a sideways smile. We'll see more adventures soon. Arriving at the market, he greeted the other vendors and set up his stall, the same spot that Gramps had used for years. The market air was smelling crisp with activity. As he carefully arranged the produce, he couldn't help but smile at the memories that flooded back, Gramps' stories and laughter, and the bond that they had shared there. The market soon came alive with the chatter of customers and the sweet melodies of live music. Alex stood behind his stall, proudly offering the fruits of his labor to those who passed by. He knew that each piece of produce held a piece of his family history and a connection to the past that he was determined to preserve. As the day wore on, Alex couldn't help but feel the sense of fulfillment, just like Gramps used to do. At quitting time, he would get a young kid to help him reload the truck and pay it back with an armful of fruit or such. Given to others will never come back to you sourly. He was more than just a farmer. He was a steward of his family tradition, a link in the chain that stretched back through time. And as he watched the sun dip below the horizon, he knew that he was exactly where he meant to be, carrying on the legacy that belonged to Gramps, one market day at a time. As the golden sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the fields, Alex began his journey back home from this bustling market. The old Ford pickup truck rumbled down the winding country roads, tires humming with familiar tune on the asphalt. Crates of produce, now lighter, nestled in the back of the truck, remnants of the successful day at the market. As he turned onto the gravel driveway leading to their farmhouse, the anticipation of returning home filled him with warmth. He smirks at the special tree that's by the creek, but it truly was a special tree. Alex thought about the rough rock foundation that he had knew that it was the old shack that across from the tree that his mother had grew up in. He discovered it one day while he was out cutting hay, and Gramps didn't tell him a lot about it, but he knew from the stories of his mother that that's where it might have been. Now the familiar sights of their farm had greeted him. The weathered barn and the rows of fruit trees and the gentle sway of the tall grass in the breeze. It was a comforting scene, one that had been imprinted in his heart. Dozens of chickens scattered in every direction, the dog sensing his arrival even before he had stepped out of the truck. The two loyal companions, a golden retriever named Buddy and a border collie named Daisy, bounded to meet him with joyful barks and wagging tails. Alex couldn't help but laugh at their nuzzling of him and their excitement. Their energy was so different than it was early in the morning. "Hey there, you two," he said, scratching behind their ears and receiving licks of affection in return. The dogs were more than just pets. They were family, sharing in the rhythms of farm life. These guys helped watch over the place. With the dogs happily romping around, Alex made his way to the front door of the farmhouse. He entered into the cozy kitchen where the remnants of supper were still lingering, a testament of a warmth of home. The aroma of fresh bread that was baked earlier in the day by Stacy lingered still in the air. Stacy loved to cook, and she would always get mad that he didn't wake her to fix him breakfast. He would tell her that there would be plenty of time for that after the baby gets here. And then, of course, on cue, Stacy appears in the doorway. Her radiant smile illuminated the room, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and love as she saw her husband, tired but content. "Welcome home," she said, her voice soft and filled with warmth. Alex crossed the kitchen in a few strides, closing the distance quickly between them. He took Stacy's face in his hands and pressed gently to her lips. It was a kiss filled with unspoken understanding and shared dreams of life that they were building together. "Did everything go well?" Stacy asked, her hands gently on her belly where the unborn child was still growing. She was his rock, his unwavering support, the love of his life. He thanked God every day for allowing her in his life. Alex nodded, and his eyes never even leaving her. "It did, but it's always better when I'm back here with you." With the dogs at their feet and the couple embraced, grateful for the simple moments that made their life on the farm so precious. In each other's arms, surrounded by the memories of generations past and the promise of generations to come, they found a love that endured time that they called home. This evening, Alex was on his tractor, a trusty old tractor that had been passed down over years. It took his grandfather years of hard work to pay off this baby, but it sure was worth it. On a warm golden evening, Alex maneuvered the trusty old tractor through the fields. He couldn't help but feel the sense of satisfaction. The sun began its slow descent in the horizon, casting an enchanting amber glow over the farm. He had already tended to the fruit trees, and Alex remembered his first time on the farm. His Gramps had made him ride with him on that tractor. Gramps was in the seat, and Alex was sort of sit-stand in the rear fender area. He watched and learned how to work the gears and what lever did what. No one had ever took the time to show him things before this. The next day, Gramps told Alex that he had to drive. Some kind of back pain or something. Alex wasn't good at it then, driving before he even got his driver's license, but he drives with ease now. Most days he would just beat Gramps out to the barn and off to till the ground or up to gather up hay. Whatever. It was just having fun, like driving and being needed. This was all that the ex-city boy needed. The rows of crops stretched out before him now, flourishing under his care, and the rhythmic hum of the tractor's engine became a soundtrack of his daily life. But this particular evening, as he was plowing the field and preparing for a new planting, the tractor steady chugging along came to an abrupt halt. Alex frowned, a puzzled expression on his face, and as if an invisible hand had reached out and pressed the pause button on this scene. He turned the key to try to restart the engine, but it stubbornly refused to respond. With a sigh, he pulled on the brake and hopped down from the driver's seat, his dusty boots sinking into the soft earth. Leaning over the open hood, he peered into the engine compartment and trying to diagnose the issue. His experienced eyes scanned the machinery, accessing the various components. It was when he reached the fuel filter that he discovered the source of the problem. The filter, it was clogged with dirt and debris from the fields, had choked off the tractor's supply of clean diesel fuel. That must be the trouble, Alex muttered to himself, his hands moving, disconnecting the filter. As a seasoned hand, he knows how to turn and twist and do it just like Gramps had showed him. He shook his head, realizing that the dusty conditions of the past few days have taken its toll on the tractor's performance. He had seen hard times before, and he would fix this problem and move on. Thankfully, he kept a spare filter in the toolbox of the tractor. With practice ease, he replaced the old filter with the new one, making sure that everything was securely connected. And as he tightened the part, he couldn't help but smile, appreciating the familiar routine of farm life and the satisfaction of solving a problem. With the issue resolved, he climbed back into the driver's seat and turned the key, and the tractor roared back into life, its engine purring contentedly once again. Alex resumed his work, the golden evening bathed with the soft and fading light. It was moments like this, the unexpected challenges and the resilience that they required, that reminded Alex of the beauty and the unpredictability of farm life. As he continued to plow, he felt the deep sense of connection to the land and to the generations that had tilled this same field before him, and the promise of the bountiful harvest yet to come. One day his new baby would sit up here and do this very same thing. He almost felt cheated that he never had brothers and sisters to share this joy with. Heading back to the barn where he could park the tractor to the car that was under the heavy tarp, the tractor ground to a halt, and Alex's heart sank. He had just replaced the clogged filter, so now what is it? In the past, you only had to fix one issue a day, he thought as he laughed to himself. He had checked the usual spots, but it seemed that this time it was something that was more elusive. He carefully examined the engine, and then, on closer inspection, he identified the problem. How does a carburetor break in half while it's still on the motor? Well, that's not good at all. This can't be an easy fix. Well, this thing is from 1958 and has been repaired and taped together for centuries. The farm's livelihood depended on this tractor, and without it, the work would come to a standstill. Alex had spent hours researching the tractor's unique carburetor, looking a way to modify it, even if it was temporary. He scourged the internet, making phone calls and even asking fellow farmers for help. But the verdict wasn't good. That specific carburetor was a relic of the past. There was no way to find a replacement, not in this present day. One evening, Alex was sitting at the computer, downhearted, and Stacy entered the room with a curious expression. She knew that he'd been wrestling with the issue for a while now. With a sigh, he turned to her and said, "Stacy, I've done all I can to find that carburetor. It's just impossible to get one in the here and now." Stacy furrowed her brows, understanding the weight of the situation. "So what is our next move then, Alex?" They both knew that they couldn't afford to buy a new tractor. They had to fix this one, just one more time. He looked up from her computer and met her gaze. "Well, I guess we should go back to 1961 and get one from a parts dealer." Stacy's eyes were wide with surprise. "Do you think that we could do that and get back safely?" she asked. She had known about the time travel car, but they had never used it for something like this before. The gravity of the situation sank in, and she nodded slowly. Alex wasn't sure if he wanted her to go with him, but he knew that he needed her with him. He now thinks about the grown baby, and had a pause. "All right, Alex, let's do it. We can't let this farm just go down because of a stupid carburetor." With a determined nod, Alex began to plan their journey back to 1961. Man, how much he loves her, and how she has spirited, and she was full of spunk. Stacy hid his gazing at her. "What's your problem?" "It was your idea in the first place," she said. And they both laughed. They were hoping to secure a vital part to keep the family farm thriving. With determination in his eyes, Alex decided to use the car to time travel back to the time where the part was available. Just to be sure that they're getting the right part, Alex removed the broken part and put it in an old crate. That's something that the old-timers would do back in the day. Alex loaded the broken carburetor into the back seat of the car. He knew that they had to be discreet and cautious. The last thing he wanted to do was attract unwanted attention and alter the course of history in a significant way. With a deep breath, Stacy in the passenger seat, he climbed into the driver's seat of the car. As the engine roared to life, he set the dial on the radio to the precision of the year that he needed, making sure that it matched the era where the part was still available. Out of the barn and down the road, Alex reached for Stacy's hand as they neared the special tree. Boy, he loves this girl with all of his heart. Something special about this area, and now it was their gateway to adventure of their own. With determination and love, they were ready to face whatever awaited them on the other side. As his thoughts of traveling back into time to visit that tree and discovering its secrets, things changed. The world around them began to blur, and familiar sights of the farm dissolved with whirls of color. And in a matter of moments, they found themselves driving down an old road. In a couple turns, they were in front of the city bustling auto parts store from decades ago. Alex gathered the old money that appeared in the back seat and stuffed it into the glove box. He already had money that he was planning on using with him. The new old money would get a look at and stored at the home properly. The old money would appear every time that they would go by that special tree. This has become a common thing for Alex, but not for Stacy. Alex had taken many trips in the car before, many times. Parking around the corner, he left Stacy in the driver's seat and turned to her and said, "Let's set the dial in case there's a problem. You can get away and go back home." Also keeping in mind that most women didn't drive back in that time. They were taking a chance that no one would say something or do something to her for being in the driver's seat. And she knew that she could play dumb and innocent if she needed to. Alex stood outside the old parts store, the sign creaking slowly and softly in the breeze. The sun was just starting to set, casting a warm golden hue across the small town. The building itself seemed to belong in another era, with its faded paint and weathered wood. With a deep breath, Alex adjusted his grip on the box with the part in it that he needed. In his pocket was the money that they had brought along for the trip. It felt strange to be using it for something like this, but he knew that it was their only option. Stacy was safe in the car around the corner, and a comfort that he embarked on in this crucial mission. Alex took a deep breath and headed inside. He entered the store. The bell above the door chimed his announcement of arrival. The shop was dimly lit, and the air was thick with the scent of oil and rubber. The shelves lined with car parts stretched out before him, each one a potential solution to their tractor problem. A grizzled old man behind the counter looked up from his thick manual that he was reading. His eyes widened as he took sight of this young man. Alex must appear unusual as a customer, but he was used to all sorts of things in this small town, he thought. Alex approached the counter, and his heart pounding in his chest. He placed the box of the broken carburetor gently on the surface. He could almost feel the sweat beading on his brow. "I need a carburetor for a 1958 tractor," he said, trying to sound more confident, if that was possible. The shop owner regarded him for a moment, and then reached down below the counter and retrieved a thick catalog, and flipping through the pages, he finally found what he was looking for. "Yeah, we got a few options for that. Let me check my stock." And he disappeared into the maze of shelves behind him. Alex said okay with a sideways smile. He waited anxiously, knowing that using the money this way was risky, but it was their only hope. As the old man returned with the carburetor in hand, Alex knew that this was the moment. The shop owner named the price, and Alex carefully counted out the bills from his pocket. The money felt like it held 100 stories, all entwined into their family history. He handed it over in exchange for the carburetor, and the transaction was complete. "Thank you, young man. Have a good day," the shop owner told Alex. Then he returned back to that thick manual and continued to read it like he was doing before. Leaving the shop, the fading sunlight seemed to have taken a new warmth. With part in hand, he headed back to find Stacy. They had successfully acquired the part that was needed. The past and the present were deeply connected, and they were determined to use this connection wisely. Alex hurried around the corner from the auto parts store, and the box containing the newly acquired carburetor clutched tightly in his hand. The setting sun cast long shadows on the dusty street, and the small town seemed to be an eerie stillness about it. He expected to find Stacy waiting in the car, but as he turned around the corner, his heart sank. The car was there, and its gleaming frame was a stark contrast to the faded storefronts, but Stacy was nowhere to be seen. "Stacy," he called out. His voice was quivering. He walked quickly to the car, his footsteps echoing the empty street. As he approached the car, the door swung open. He peered inside, fearing the worst, but to his immense relief, Stacy was sunk down in the driver's seat, her eyes wide with wonder and excitement, sitting almost in shock and amazement. "Alex, you won't believe this," she said. Her voice was filled with amazement and excitement. While Stacy waited for Alex in the car, she noticed a small antique shop across the street. Curiosity got the best of her, and she decided to explore it. The shop had all sorts of vintage items, from old books to records, from retro clothing, and even trinkets. Stacy found herself drawn to the rack of vintage dresses, and she couldn't resist trying one on. As she twisted and turned in front of the shop's mirror, she imagined what it would be like to live in this different era. The experience brings a sense of nostalgia and wonder, making her feel connected to the past in ways that she never thought possible. "I went into that store over there, and it was filled with vintage stuff. Well, stuff that we know is old, but it's newly old here, and we could get some of that stuff and resell it back home," Stacy said with excitement. What else could they get from this place that they could use or even resell? Alex thought. "Stacy, keep your eyes open for garage sales and auctions," Alex suggested, his mind racing with the possibilities. "We might come across some vintage items that collectors would pay a pretty penny for in our time." Alex knew that using this old money at someone's yard sale wouldn't get a lot of attention. He was always worried about the FBI after his run-in with Agent Paxton at the farm and at the high school. Stacy nodded in agreement, excited at the proposal of treasure hunting in the past. As Alex and Stacy delved deeper into their unplanned adventure back in 1961, they couldn't resist the allure of exploring the era and collecting unique items. The stolen money, concealed as it was in a vintage wallet in the glove box, gave them financial freedom to indulge in newfound hobby of treasure hunting. And they spent time scouring the yard sales and antique shops and thrift stores, carefully selecting clothing and items that caught their eye. Each piece was a portal to the past, a connection to the bygone era. They had a keen eye for authenticity and made sure to label and catalog everything that they acquired, taking a note of the year and the place that it was purchased. From poodle skirts to leather jackets to retro furniture, vinyl records and their own growing collection spanned the entire spectrum of the 1960s. Some items were kept for their personal enjoyment, like old records that they played on their lazy Sunday afternoon. Others were earmarked for future resale, knowing that the collectors and enthusiasm would pay for a premium for nostalgic relics. Stacy always would like to buy old gold necklaces and rings that she came across. Gold never goes out of style, and buying it, even the broken ones, she knew that in her time and place they would buy stuff for the weight of that gold. Little did they know that trip in 1961 them keep the farm running. As Alex and Stacy carefully curated their collection of vintage items, it seamlessly blended into the farmhouse decor, enhancing the authenticity. To everyone that entered the farmhouse, it would indeed appear as though they had traveled back into time. There was one item that they would keep locked away in that new safe that they'd bought. Alex always liked baseball and knew that signed baseballs would bring a lot of money. So while back in 1961 they knew that they could go see one of the greats, it was Roger Maris. Alex and Stacy arrived at the stadium in a warm sunny afternoon. The vibrant buzz of the crowd echoed through the air. There was much excitement to see Roger Maris, the famous New York Yankee outfielder, and he was in action today. As they found their seats, the stadium was alive with energy. Fans chattered excitingly, and the smell of popcorn and hot dogs waved through the air. The stadium announcer echoed his voice through the loudspeakers, introducing the players and announcing the evening's starting lineup. Alex was especially thrilled. He was a big baseball fan, and a chance to see Maris play was a dream come true. As the game started, he couldn't help but cheer along the way with the crowd whenever Maris came up to bat. Stacy, on the other hand, was just to be excited to experience and see something that she'd never seen before, a vintage baseball game. In the beginning innings, they noticed the commotion near a dugout. It was Roger Maris signing autographs for fans, as Alex and Stacy decided to seize the opportunity. They made their way down to the front row, joining the crowd of enthusiastic fans hoping for Maris's signature. Maris, known for his humility and approachability, took time to sign autographs. Alex and Stacy watched in awe as he signed baseballs, caps, and photos for other fans. When Maris finally reached them, Alex held out a baseball and a pen. "Mr. Maris, it's an honor to meet you," Alex said with a big smile. "Will you please sign this baseball for us?" Roger Maris smiled kindly and took the baseball. He signed his name with a steady hand and handed it back to Alex. "Of course, and thanks for coming to the game," he said. Stacy, still thrilled with the experience, couldn't help but to chime in. "This is amazing, and thank you so much, Mr. Maris." Maris nodded and continued to sign autographs for other fans. Alex and Stacy walked away with the cherished baseball in their hand, a treasured memento from a magical night at the ballpark. They returned to their seats, still buzzing with excitement from the game that continued. Seeing Roger Maris in action and getting his autograph made this time travel adventure unforgettable for Alex and Stacy, one that they would remember for a lifetime. That baseball was one of their fondest memories together. Gramps' home was not just a place, but a living memory of the Wilsons' family, their journey through time. They were having a ball, really, so to say, that they knew that they needed to return back to their time. Alex keyed the right dial on the radio, and they headed for home. In a flash, they felt that change. They were back on the farm. Alex carefully installed the new part on the tractor. In a sense of triumph, he started the engine, and the tractor roared once again back to life. As he resumed to work on the fields, he knew that the car and the time travel abilities had become an essential ally to the mission to uphold the family's farm tradition and ensure the future's prosperity. It never was on their mind to spend that stolen money in the past. It was recorded as the FBI as random incidents later they would find out. The stolen money would start popping up all around town, and different people had it in the past. Strangely enough, some of the money showed up at a New York Yankees baseball park. This would be some new information that Agent Paxton hadn't had before. You remember when the teacher had tried to deposit the bill that he had found at the high school, it would reopen the case. They had given the FBI more ammunition now to use against Alex and Gramps in the past, and they would really change the investigation. The FBI, especially Agent Bill Paxton, had been tracking this with the use of the stolen money from the past. We know that it was a personal thing for Bill Paxton, and his family had lost everything in that bank robbery. When his father turned to the bottle, life for the Paxton house changed from riches to rags. A small-town bank could never recover from a great loss of family-loaned money. On this one robbery, the bank was holding for. On this robbery that had devastated the bank, they were holding money, a large sum of money that was to be transferred to a larger bank on the next day. Bill Paxton's father had not put the money back into the safe when they were robbed. Broke the Paxton family bank. Bill became a cop, and then later an FBI agent to help find the robber. While Alex and Stacy's trip to the past to get the carburetor was seemingly a secret and discreet and harmless, then unknowingly left a trail of evidence for the FBI that was picking up on it. The teacher's attempt to deposit one of the stolen bills that he found in the high school served as a pivotal moment in the narrative. This event not only provided Agent Paxton with a lead, but also raised the stakes for Alex. We find it weird that the FBI was still looking for a robber and the stolen money years later. They knew that when they drove near that special tree, money would appear in the backseat of the car. And they took the money and used it in the past to buy things that they needed and wanted, not thinking that it would become a problem for them that they had to deal with in their timeline. Agent Paxton narrows in on the source of these stolen money that was circulating in that 1961 era. We know that Alex took Paxton on a ride when the FBI boss came to the farm, and they went near that special tree just in time to get a glimpse of a person in the back seat that beat up the special agent. Alex thinks that the person that helped him was Gramps, but a younger Gramps, and the money was flying all around them as they fought, and then it was over. Paxton would think about what if someone was able to go back into time, but he played it off. But it did point him in Alex's direction and brought the attention on Alex. The incident where Alex took Agent Paxton for a ride, leading to the confrontation near that special tree, had triggered a time glimpse, and indeed a pivotal moment in history. Agent Paxton's experience during the ride would have left a lasting impression on him, sparking his curiosity of possibility of time travel. This curiosity and the memory of the figure who had gave him a good fight makes him want to know more. As Agent Bill Paxton had grown more and more convinced of the involvement of time travel in the stolen money case, each piece of evidence or a lead would be a puzzle that would be fallen into place. The reappearance of the stolen money and the transaction for a tractor part in the 1960s was significant. It was a break in the case and a lead that would potentially shed light on the mysteries that had haunted his families for generations. Paxton had his doubts when he had first heard about the possibility of time travel, but he couldn't ignore the mounting evidence. The strange occurrences surrounding the stolen money seemed to defy all logic. How else could the money get from the 1940s and end up in circulation once again in 1960? His visit to Alex was inevitable. The young man who possessed the car that seemed to be able to travel back in time had the capacity for the answers that Paxton desperately needed. Well, here Bill Paxton sat in his unmarked car and watched the family farm from a distance. Endless fields and quaint farmhouse seemed like worlds away from his own. He had become obsessed with the mysteries of the stolen money and the car that seemed to defy all logical explanations. It had haunted him for decades, and he can't just let it go. And he suspected Alex, the grandson of Charlie Wilson, was somehow connected to the money and the strange disappearance from that in the past. As he watched, he noticed Alex entering the barn, remembering the previous ride that he had taken in that time travel car with him. That experience had rattled Paxton's understanding of the world, and it also provided the agent with a vital clue. His family was ruined by that bank robbery in 1948, and Paxton knew that he had approached the situation with caution. The last time he had confronted Alex in the car, he had ended up getting beaten up and bloodied, but he couldn't ignore this opportunity. He was determined to find out the truth, and he believed that the key lied with the Wilson family and the car itself. The agent sighed, gripping the steering wheel tightly, and he had made his decision. He would unofficially pay a visit to Alex and the family farm. Paxton was hoping to gather up more information about the stolen money and that bizarre time travel car. He knew that he was playing a dangerous game, but his obsession and the need for closure drove him forward. He started his car and he pulled up that dirt road heading towards the Wilson farm. Paxton's mind was filled with a mix of determination, curiosity, and a lingering fear of the unknown. He was about to delve deeper into the enigma surrounding the Wilsons, the money, and the time-altering car, ensuring that what if he discovered and where his quest might ultimately lead was a big question. He was a secret joke around his fellow agents. He needed to know if Alex had any connection to that stolen money, or if he could shed light on that car and the origins or potential uses. And what if he could find out the secret of the car and use it for his own purposes? He might even be able to travel back and see who the bank robber really was for sure. The meeting with Alex was tense this time. The last time he had talked, Alex was a teen, but now he was an adult who was married and had a baby on the way. He had done his research, and he knew how Alex had married Stacy and when. Stacy used to be Alex's tutor, and she was also a head cheerleader. You can't underestimate this Alex. He always does better than he really should. He don't deserve that woman. Paxton couldn't help but be on edge. Paxton was going to ask the pointed questions, inquiring about the car and its capability, and whether Alex had used it to time travel into the past. Paxton arrived unannounced at the family farm one sunny afternoon. As he knocked on the farmhouse door, Alex answered, wearing a puzzled expression. Agent Paxton cleared his throat. "Alex, I've been digging into this money business for a while now, knowing there's more to this story, and I'm here to find out more about the truth." Alex nodded and invited Paxton inside. They sat at the kitchen table, and Alex leaned in, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Agent Paxton, this might sound unbelievable, but there's more to this money than you can imagine. It's tied to a secret, a special car. Now this car can travel through time. Agent Paxton raised his eyebrows, skeptical but intrigued. You think that you can give me back my father? He was ruined on that day of that bank robbery, and he drank himself into the grave, leaving us to fight to survive. Time travel, Alex? You claimed that before, and I didn't believe you then, and you can't expect me to believe that now. I know it's hard to believe, Alex continued, but this car, it's real. My wife Stacy and I have journeyed into the past just recently to get a carburetor. We had to go back to get that carburetor for the tractor, and we couldn't get it anywhere else. So we hopped in the car and went back to 1961, found a store, and then bought it and came back here. Alex had left out all the other stops along the way, including the baseball game. Paxton was particularly interested in the events surrounding this transaction for the tractor part and the circumstances that led to the stolen money being used. Alex and Stacy were forthcoming, providing every detail of the account of their adventure with the car and the role for using it to obtain the tractor part. They explained the nature of their time travel experiences and the challenges that they had faced in the past. Paxton leaned back, processing all that he had just heard. You're saying that the money that I've been investigating, the stolen money from my family bank, and it's tied to this time travel car. Alex explained the car's connection to the special tree and their family's secret meeting place and how it would trigger a time travel. Alex was just guessing that this tree was made it all happen. Could only say that it was love. Love had tied its DNA from its grandfather and grandmother to him. The love that Daisy had for Charlie had sprang up and had embedded itself into that special tree. Love that caused Charlie to bury the money under that tree. A love allowed the car to travel back and forth into time to help the DNA of the individual. Well, Paxton was silent for a moment, deep in thought. Then he stood up and walked back out of the farmhouse where the time travel car sat in the barn. As Paxton approached the car, he hesitated. The concept was fantastical. Observe, Eden. The story had him intrigued. Alex told him that the rest of the stolen money was in the car's back seat. As Paxton climbed in the back seat, his eyes filled with curiosity. There was a small briefcase that was there, so Paxton grabbed it and started to open it. Alex, with a knowing smile, sat in the driver's seat and started the car. As the car engine roared to life, Paxton realized what had happened, and now he was powerless to stop it. Alex and Stacy knew that Agent Bill Paxton would always come after them with a relentless pursuit. They were concerned about the potential consequences of his investigation. To him, it was personal, and he wanted to hurt people that hurt him as a child. They had to take him away from this timeline, a time when the farm would be sold and the landscape had been changed for them. The car's radio turned on as they sped down the road, approaching the special tree. In an instant, the landscape changed around them, and they arrived in the future, and there were unfamiliar buildings and technology surrounding them. Agent Paxton, disoriented, unable to comprehend the world that he'd found himself in. This had been his first time travel adventure. Alex tossed the old dirty bag of money on the ground away from the car. "There's all the stolen money," Alex yelled. Paxton happily climbed out of the back seat of the car, and grabbing the bag and looking inside, he found only corn husk and rubbish. Alex and Stacy looked at him with sadness. Stacy rubbed her stomach that held their future, one that they didn't want to have to deal with this guy or his revenge ideas. Now they didn't have to deal with this Agent Bill Paxton. Their baby would have both their parents to raise her. "You've been relentless on your pursuit," Alex said, "and now you know the truth. But we can't have you interfering in our lives any longer. You'll be stuck here in this world that you don't know, and you'll be unable to return." And Paxton's expression changed from curiosity to realization. He now was realizing that he would be stranded in the unknown future. He tried to run after the car, but just as he got close to it, it disappeared. The car, with its distinctive red hue, vanished into the temporal vortex, leaving Agent Paxton standing alone in a strange unknown future, leaving him holding the bag, useless and alone. He realized that he had been outsmarted, and he was stranded in time, in a place that he couldn't really comprehend. Alex told him the truth about the car after all. As the car disappeared into the time stream, Alex and Stacy found themselves back in their own timeline, and the feel of relief and freedom had washed over them. They knew that they had left Agent Paxton behind, and he would never be able to trouble them again. With their adventures behind them, They returned to the farm, cherishing the moments that they had together, looking forward to a peaceful and happy life for their growing family. The car, now free from the pursuit of Agent Paxton, would remain their secret, allowing them to explore the mysteries of time travel without interference or fear. And so their story continued, filled with wonders and mysteries of the Tyme Glitch, as they built a life together, free from the shadows of the past. Alex and Stacy felt bad for what they had done to him, but knew that they had to do it. When it comes down to protecting your family, you sometimes have to make tough decisions. One day they will have to tell their unborn child about what had happened and why they did what they did. But for today, they would rest easy without the worry that anyone was coming after them. They parked the car in the barn and pulled that heavy tarp over it once again, and there it would stay and gather dust until it was needed to help the family out again. Alex and Stacy sat on the front porch and began to sing and play songs into the night.